let's just start off. If you can, do me a favor, introduce yourself, tell us who you are, how old you are, where you're from, and what it is that you do.
My name is Ben Cloward. I'm 43 years old, originally from Utah. Relocated here to Vegas after graduating from law school. Been here for about 10 years, 2008, and I'm a trial lawyer.
Awesome, man. Awesome. And if you can remind me, how many weeks back specifically did you join this initial program? Can you remember how many weeks back specifically it was?
Oh,
Okay, so it was 12 weeks precisely.
yep.
Okay, and if you can maybe share with me or anyone that may be watching this at the moment, can you just share why is it that you joined? You know, what was life like back for you then? What problems were you facing? And just how did you feel overall?
I joined for a couple different reasons. The first thing was I got a referral from a real good friend of mine, and he had, tremendous success and results, and I've kind of seen that process, and kind of talking to him about what he was doing. He told me about you, and I was just kind of doing my own thing, staying in my own lane, and but then the weight kind of continued to creep back up. I'd done all these crash diets and done keto, done Atkins before keto was around, done all these different things, and the weight always came back because they were just crash diets. They weren't really a lifestyle change type of thing. And it was just kind of like, I've got to do something differently. One of my best friends' dads, his dad is kind of like a second dad to me, also passed away. And it was unfortunately a slow decline from complications from diabetes. And that was something that was in the forefront of my mind, because last time I went to the doctor, I was pre-diabetic. Basically, my blood levels were kind of up there, and so I just felt like, I need to get a control of my life. I need to make some changes, and I was tipping the scales around 254, 255, somewhere around there, 250, 254 basically.
So you kind of felt like it had gotten to the point, not only just from the referral and also very grateful for that referral from that gentleman who referred you, as an awesome guy. But outside of that, you kind of hit almost that tipping point on the scales. You said you were experiencing, you didn't feel maybe as best as you could have. What I want to know from you is, how bad did it get for you? Like before enrolling, how bad did it get, and what specific toll was it taking on your life personally and professionally to be operating in the state that you were in?
So my energy levels were terrible. Around 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, I just had this crash where it was just like, I just kept telling my wife, like, there's got to be something wrong with me. Like, I'm exhausted. Like, I just am exhausted. And it's hard to describe the feeling, but it's just, I felt like literally I was going to fall asleep, like just that tired, like I can't do anything else. And that was like kind of almost a daily thing. And so that was something that I think was a significant hindrance, because it was like every day, 2 or 3 o'clock. And I was just felt like I was gonna, I had to lay down and sleep. And I had actually even seen a doctor for that. And they checked my cortisol levels. You do this test where they get a bottle and you have to spit in the bottle like once an hour throughout the day. And I had a significant either up or down at that time to kind of show why that was happening. But as I've learned through this process, it's probably just stress, and I don't experience that anymore. And so I think that it got pretty bad from a psychological perspective, just feeling lack of confidence because, I'm overweight. I've yo-yo dieted. I've yo-yoed my, for the last 10 years, I've been as high as like 278. When I finally got under 250, that was kind of like a big celebration for me before this program, but it was always based on, like these crash fad diets. And so 250 was kind of like my line in the sand. Like once I get north of that, okay, the red lights go flashing. And so at the start of this program, I had crossed that red, that line in the sand. And so it was like, I need to change. I'm not feeling good. All my clothes are tight. I'm either going to have all my suits tailored, or I got to figure something out. But I never had long-term success sticking to something. My typical MO was, I'll do it for 3 or 4 weeks. I'll do it for maybe 45 days. But that's about it. Because I hadn't seen long-term success. I may drop, 10, 15 pounds, but then once I drop the 10, 15 pounds, then I plateau. And so I felt pretty desperate, definitely.
Yeah. So, and I appreciate you for sharing that. So you just starting off there, because I remember energy was a big thing for you in terms of, like you were saying, you were sharing exhausted. What I'm curious to know is how was that I know you mentioned the 3 p.m. crash, but how was that really affecting your day-to-day life, being low on that energy, just in general?
Well, I think it affected my life or my relationships with my kids. It affected my work. If I'm only able to put in 2/3 of a day of work or 3/4 of a day of work, and by the time I get home, and my kids want to go play outside, I didn't have the energy. I literally wanted to get in bed around 6 or 7 and just go to sleep because I was so tired. And I honestly kept telling my wife, like, there has to be something else going on. There's got to be something else going on. And I went to the doctor around the start of this time, and he did a bunch of blood. And this was long after because I'd been experiencing this for probably a year and a half, just a real super low energy. So I just almost kind of resigned myself to the fact maybe it's just I'm over 40 and that's the way it's going to be for the rest of my life.
Mm. So you had gotten to that point where you almost thought it was like an age thing, like, hey, I guess just how it is with the energy.
Yeah, because the other doctor that I went to that did the cortisol testing, the spit testing, it's a specific test. They give you like 24 vials. You've got to spit in one of them like every hour, and then they send it out. But the thing is that she said, look, this explains why you're having this crash in the afternoon, but there was no solution for it. It wasn't like, hey, this is what's going on, and you need to do X, Y, and Z as a result of this. It was just like, hey, yeah, this explains why you've got this afternoon crash. I'm like, well, I want a solution.
Yeah, they kind of left you hanging. They told you what the problem was, but they didn't tell you how to solve it.
Yeah.
And so that was starting to really take its toll in terms of how you're functioning, even after work. Like you said, wanting to go to bed 6, 7 p.m. How about in terms of, from a physical standpoint, the weight? I know you said you hit that, draw that line in the sand at 250 or above. How was the weight really affecting you on the day to day and how you were operating?
Obviously, getting to the point where your clothes are not fitting, I'm a trial lawyer, so I spent a lot of time in court. Before we started, my suits were all on the brink of, I was 2, 3 belt loops up, and it was like super tight. My shirts were tight. It was like one of these things where, your buttons are tight and you're basically bursting through your shirt. And so it was frustrating from that standpoint, but also just frustrating from the lack of confidence, It constantly feeling my clothes tight and knowing that I'm above 250 again and on the way north. I'm not just 250.1. I'm 254. And so I just had a lot of confidence issues, I think. While I'm looking at myself in the mirror every morning, just hating the person, that I'm seeing because of that, just ashamed and upset and angry and feeling worthless. And,
I get it, man. Well, even with all of this going on, with the energy, the exhaustion, the weight kind of, yeah, maybe that inner, whether you want to call it inner turmoil or just something, as you said, you looked in the mirror, did not like the guy staring back at you to a degree, knowing that you joined this program 12 weeks back. What I'm curious to know is, what has life been like for you over these past 12 weeks?
Completely amazing. It's a different person. I've talked a lot with you about, creating Ben 2.0, just kind of shattering the mold of the prior old Ben and creating a new mold. I think that's happened. The energy with my really good friend that I mentioned, he mentioned, look, dude, I felt the energy, honestly, like day two. My energy just, I would say week 2 to 3 is when I really felt like, okay, I'm getting up in the morning, I'm doing the exercises, I'm feeling like $1,000,000, like feeling amazing. That 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock dip is what took 2 to 3 weeks to finally kind of get rid of. And I don't have that anymore. Like I don't have the 2 to 3 o'clock dip. It's non-existent. I'm up in the morning. Holy crap, I'm ready to kick anybody's butt. I'm ready to just take the day, take the day, in a headlock and take it down. That started immediately. Yeah. Huge difference. Just kind of the relief of knowing like, okay, I'm on a program. I know from my good friend that it works, and I've seen the changes in him. And so it's just like I had the confidence, and I watched a lot of the testimonials of other people like me, and I just was thinking, well, man, if they can do it, I can do it.
From my observation and what you've shared thus far, that it has sounded like it's come together for you to a degree. So what I what I want to know is what specific results have you gotten from being in here up until this point?
So when I first started the program, obviously I'm 250 plus, and my big goals were fitness based, clothing based, size based. And so those were the big things that I thought were important. I think one of the other main mental goals, or the main goals that I had, was the mental part of it. Like I need to figure out the real estate from this year to this year with how this process works. What I feel like I have learned more than anything is the real estate here and what I'm capable of doing, and that I'm absolutely capable of becoming fit just like you. I've got a long way to go because I had made a lot of bad decisions coming up to it. But I would say that my number one, very most important, most significant, most valuable to me transformation is the mental part of it. Recognizing that I can do this, recognizing that it's a choice that makes me happy. It's a choice that brings positivity in my life. It's a choice that brings energy to my life. But as far as the physical changes, I weighed in this morning at 222. So I'm down, from 254 to 222.
Wow.
You're a little surprised because last time we checked in, I was 227. So a little bit of a surprise for you, my man.
So yeah, which is a wonderful surprise at that. So you started at what weight again?
254.
That's right, 254, and you weighed in at 222. Is that correct?
Yep, 222.
Wow. What else? What other physical changes have you seen?
Yep. So I'm down 32 pounds in 90 days. 32 pounds in 90 days, and I still have I still have a couple more days. So I'm hitting it hard this last week. I'm coming in strong. The other things, so my waist size gone down probably from a 40 to at least a 38. I really think my 38 size jeans, I was wearing them yesterday. They're big. My Levi's, I can definitely, they're big. I could go down to a 36. I really believe I'm ready for the 36. And so, basically 40 to 36. Belt loops, I would say I've gone down 3 belt loops. I started off in a double XL. I've been in a double XL for the last 20 years. And I'm into an XL, and I really think that I could pull off a large. I bought a new shirt. I sent you a text. I was excited about the XL. This past weekend, we kind of went on a little vacation, bought myself an XL, and when I got home and was trying it on, it was like, you know what, I probably could have pulled off a large. There's been a lot of success. A lot of success in the program.
Wow, man. So mental game has been a huge factor for you. And we go to the physical, 32 pounds down, 3 belt loops, from a size, 40 pants, close to, you're in 38s now, but you feel like you can flirt with a 36. How, in terms of your strengths went up? And with all of those results, the 32 pounds, the interest drop, the pants fitting better, clothes fitting differently, once you created those results for yourself, what else really changed for you?
Well, I think obviously my confidence levels were hugely different. I walk around just kind of like, not even nearly as down on myself. I feel really good about myself now. I feel strong. I feel like I'm, finally doing what I've always felt like I was capable of doing, but just didn't really know how.
I know one of the shifts, and you gave us a teaser at the beginning of this in regards to your energy. So, what I'm curious to know is how is your energy now compared to when you enter? Like, give me the full synopsis. How was your energy when before you were exhausted, hitting that 2 p.m. credit? How is your energy as of today?
It is much, much more leveled out. So there's not this significant drop, but I would say that I start off on a much higher position.
So your energy is leveled out a little bit, and how is that really
Not just a little bit, I mean significantly.
significant?
When I say there was a crash, I'm just trying to explain. I wish I could. There were words to explain that crash and just how debilitating it was. Like honestly, I've been to multiple doctors like to try and figure it out. Like I'm sitting there thinking, my heck, there's got to be something wrong with me, medically wrong, because the crash was so severe that it was just like when it would come around, I just felt like I was, like I had to get in bed at 2 or 3 in the afternoon and sleep. I mean, it was nuts. So it was much more than just a little bit, it was significant.
So very significant change in energy. And how would you notice that has impacted you on the day to day, knowing that your energy is significantly increased?
Well, it's been tremendous. I'm able to go home, play with my kids. One of the favorite things that my daughter likes to do is play horse. So we're always playing a couple rounds of horse. And we recently put up a pickleball net, and we get the whole family involved in that. And so I'm able to do those things with energy. It's not like I'm dragging through it. I mean, I'm having fun. So the family, that's been a big thing. But then also, the work, I feel like I'm able to put in a consistent full day's effort. And I've seen the productivity, the gains from that, which is important too.
I was going to say, if you wouldn't mind, expand on that a little bit, especially from a work perspective in terms of being productive. Because if I recall when we had first chatted and we kind of realized where your energy was and that it could have been, impacting your productivity and your focus every single week. How has it changed for you now in terms of maybe your efficiency, your productivity, your focus, and those kind of things from the day to day, just from the energy and what you've experienced?
Yeah, well, obviously, if you're feeling like you're on the verge of like collapse, you're not able to work. You're not able to be productive. I mean, you could sit there, but you're just feeling like I can barely make it through what I'm doing, and so you're not productive at all. Your focus is terrible, and what you're able to accomplish is terrible. So you might be sitting there in the seat, maybe 20% productivity. Now it's I can sustain. Like last night, I was working until 9:30, 8:30, 9:30 at night, just because I had some things, that I wanted to get done, and I was totally cool with that. It wasn't a problem. Whereas before, that was never going to happen.
That's amazing, man. So you before you're wanting to fall asleep by 2, 3, get home 6, 7, fall asleep. Now you're working a little bit later, if of course by choice on certain things, and you've got the energy to do it. I noticed you mentioned that productivity was 20% before. What would you rank it now based off of knowing that you can work a little bit later, you doing more things? What would you say your productivity is at right now?
I think it's been as high as it's ever been. I think I'm much more patient. I think I'm just more understanding, just not being stressed out so much, not being so tired. I think that, just being more present has helped all of my relationships, whether that be with my family, whether that be at work, whether that be at church. I think just all of the different relationships that I have benefited because of that.
So awesome, man. And I know even with all this great success, I know you had experienced, or at least you shared other things that you've maybe tried in the past, attempted. So what I'm curious to know is how has this been different from anything you've ever experienced before? There's 1,000 different things out there. Maybe you've made multiple attempts, but how has this really been different?
I remember watching one of the testimonials of one of your clients, elderly gentleman, I think maybe in his 50s, and he said, I've tried every single plan out there. I'm the guy that's done them all. Well, I really identified with him because I'd done them all too. Those things never were the complete package, but also with your program, I think your program is significant from several probably the very most important thing is the mental aspect. And I think that that mental aspect, again, nobody has ever done anything like that, not even close. You know, those things are huge, and that's before you even start. And then once you start, it's very, very, very organized. You know exactly what you're going to do. And so it really is the total package. It's not just focused on one little thing. And I think that's why all of the other programs fail, is because they're only micro focused on one little teeny aspect, and you're not getting the entirety of what really brings lasting change.
Well, I'm glad you took that away from all of this. Even with all this stuff that, you know, the successes you've created, the what you've just noticed how this has been different, the energy, the weight loss, all this kind of stuff. Even though you had a good friend who has just done a remarkable job for himself, and he referred you, I'm always aware that, you know, even still with someone of that trust process, there could still be some concerns or worries. So what was your biggest worry or concern about joining within here?
I think the biggest concern was just, even though my good friend had the success, it was just kind of like, you know, do I have the mental fortitude to complete it? Getting into the program, starting to do the things. I don't feel like I ever had that time where it was just like, oh man, I'm going to quit. I can't follow through with this. But that was a huge fear that I had, was just like, I had done so many dang programs. I'd failed so many programs that I just felt like, I hope that this isn't going to be just another program that I fail. And it was so comprehensive. I mean, if you just show up, you're going to have success, period.
Just show up.
Just show up.
Just
You
show
gotta
up.
just show up. Yep. And I've got to just share this, okay? I've got to just share this because I think it's important. It goes to your, it's a credit to you. It's a credit to, you know, your process. It's really a credit to your character. You know, so I had a referral. I had a current client, right? I had one of your current clients giving me the referral. And when we initially talked,
Right.
you know, my mindset, I was almost in a grieving mode, because I'd crossed over that line, and I'm sitting there saying to myself, how did I get here again? And so I'm kind of going through this grieving, feeling bad for myself, you know. And so when we first talked the first time, you know, you were truthful, you were candid. You asked me to level with you and be truthful and candid. And you just kind of said, look, based on what you've told me, I don't think that, you know, a guy in your mindset with your current position, thinking and seeing things the way that you are, I don't think that we would be a good fit. And I don't think that you would be a long-term success based on my experience. And so, you know, if things change, get a hold of me down the road. And it's not like you're just trying to sell something. You seriously, genuinely want people to succeed. And you could recognize that I wasn't in the right place. And that was like a shock to me, because I thought, well, geez, why doesn't he want me to sign up? Heck, I'm willing to pay the money. But it wasn't about the money to you. It was about, hey, am I going to have success? That was a huge thing to me, because it really forced me to do some more soul searching. And so it was through more critical thinking. And I think it was like maybe another 10 days, something like that. I reached out to you and said, listen, man, I'm really interested in doing this. Because the first time we talked, you know, it was like, hey, on a scale of 1 to 10, where do you rate getting into this? And I'm like, well, I don't know, maybe a 7. and you're like, look, my experience has been, unless you're a 10, like, you're not going to have the success. And you really took the time to listen, took the time to you know, understand where I was coming from. It was helpful. You really helped me to recognize that those feelings, that I can change the way that I feel about this simply by refocusing, reframing, and changing my mindset. And that was a huge, huge deal. And it wasn't shortly, you know, it was maybe, you know, 2 or 3 weeks later after that before we began the process. And, you know, you said, look, I think you've figured some things out that you need to figure out, that I think that this will be productive. And I just was asking you, hey, just take a shot on me, man. Just take a shot. And you did. And it's been completely successful. And it's been phenomenal.
You, man, your shifts, not only just from that second conversation, but even to now, it's been mind blowing and an absolute pleasure working with you. And I'm glad, I'm glad we really made it happen. And even going from the concern standpoint of thinking that, man, am I even going to be able to do this? It's just going to be like another thing that I fail. What did the program, me, or just anything in general do at the core to alleviate that feeling of self-doubt that you may have initially felt?
So initially, those are the feelings that I had, but it was really kind of through that week zero, really assessing and evaluating in my mind why I'm here, why I'm doing this. It started to provide me with the confidence because I recognized that I'm coming in this because I have some really significant, real reasons why I need to change. And so that was the motivation, the change in my mindset that helped me to get to a point where it was like, okay, I'm going to do this. I'm not really worried too much about myself. Week 2, 3, getting into it, it's like, yeah, I'm gonna get through this. No sweat at all.
When we talked about concerns or skepticism, you were just already sharing with whatever other guy is watching this right now, if he's made it even up to this point.
Yeah.
If he's made it up to this point, and maybe some things have spoke to him thus far, but again, he may have tried a lot of different things like you've experienced before this, may have failed, may have been burned before, may have whatever the reason. What would you say to that guy or anyone who's considering reaching out, submitting a form like you did, who maybe doesn't have a buddy that's in the program? He literally doesn't even know who in the heck I am or what this program is. He just fell upon it. What would you say to him or anyone that's watching this right now who's considering reaching out for support or anything?
Watch the other testimonials. It's not BS. At the first of this, I was like, well, look, if these guys can do it, then I can do it. I really identified with several of the people. For me, it was just the identification with the other people, because all these other programs, it's like you see a before photo and you see an after photo, but that's all you see. And it's like, it's talking about it. It's understanding the struggles that other people have had. And when you recognize, oh man, I've had that same struggle. And oh man, I thought that same thing. It's like, well, geez, Louise, if he can do that, then I can do that. And so it's just a process, I would say, for other people to just watch the testimonials, listen to the testimonials, listen to the struggles that other people have had, and then trust the process. Trust the process, because it is so comprehensive that if you follow it, you 100% will have success. I guarantee it. I'm grateful that it's changed my life. I'm grateful for the newfound confidence. I'm grateful for the energy. I'm grateful for the patience, the increased patience I have with my family. I'm grateful for the increase in productivity, in my job. I'm grateful for the increase in productivity and what I'm able to handle, because the stress levels are relieved. I'm grateful for the fitness gains that I've had. My whole family. So on this group text thread, you talk a lot about being accountable, right? And on this group text thread of my entire family, I'm posting my, progress photos and posting these goals.
I didn't even know that. That's awesome.
Yep. And, my little nephew, unfortunately, has cancer. He's 9 years old and he's got cancer.
I'm sorry to hear that, man.
Yeah. But I suggested that we run this Speedy Spaniard, and all of my other family members have kind of joined in. And so now we're going to join this, and we're going to wear, these shirts, Love for Luke. And it's really just, it's been a really cool process, because it's changed not only me, but, my other family members are excited about it. And it's a huge thing. I'm very grateful for it.